दर्पण दृश्यमान नगरी तुल्यनिजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैः स्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततन्कृतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै। So freedom in action. There is a freedom in action taught by Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita. What is this freedom? Freedom from reactions, basically. Generally, when a person acts and confronts situations, has to respond to the situations, reactions arises. So how effectively a person can respond in a situation, can act in an effective manner, has been taught by Bhagavan in the second chapter and third chapter. Very important verse, you can see it from several angles. It's taught by Savarnishwar. Therefore you can see कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गः स्वकर्मणि युगस्सः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योगः उच्यते, etc. So these 2-3 verses are very important for a human being to know the meaning of that. So we'll be discussing that. Whatever the time is there, we'll be discussing that. So it's a great privilege to be a human being compared to other living beings. We are very privileged, and even I am privileged, I can say. As a human being, I am privileged. I can very well say. A poor monkey cannot say like that. Poor monkey cannot say that I am privileged. So that shows there is no privilege to say that. What is that privilege among all living beings that a human being enjoys? Some people answer, well, Swami, it's a human body which is very, very distinct compared to the other living beings' physical body. No. All other physical bodies also have a certain peculiarities. In fact, they have a certain physical powers which we don't have. Somebody has a seeing powers, powerful than us. Somebody has a walking power. Somebody has a running power. Physical body is, in terms of physical body, we cannot say the human being is a privileged person. Definitely not. Horse and elephants and lion, they have very beautiful body. Every body is unique. It may be a body of an insect, or it may be a body of animal, or a body of even a plant. They have so much. So what is that a human being enjoys as a privilege? Well, it's a freedom of choice. It's freedom of choice, which other living beings do not have. Right? I am free to talk. I am free to talk in one way, free to talk in another way, free not to talk, free to suspend talk after 10 minutes, free to talk in one language, free to talk in another language, free to talk in a high pitch, low pitch. My God, just one action. Crow does not have such kind of facility, right? Only kaka, that's it. No, nothing else. Or maybe donkey, whatever. So my point is, this is something, a freedom, choice, free will, is a unique thing. Is a unique thing. In fact, it is said that in exercising this faculty of a choice, human being has no choice. You don't have a choice not to exercise this faculty. And therefore, so even when I do not deliberately make a choice, even still I am choosing a default option. You can understand. Some people may ask, Swamiji, no, I don't choose anything. Even if you don't say, I don't choose a given thing, you choose a default option. That's for sure. So this is a very unique thing. So in exercising a choice, a free will, a human being, or exercising this choice, free to choose, freedom to choose, human being has no choice. That's the thing. Anyway, so the kind of clothes we wear, the kind of food we eat, the attitude with which we eat, all these are open to choice. Anyway, and when you have such freedom, you should know how to exercise that freedom. Whenever a freedom is there are always certain norms so that you choose in a proper way. There are always norms, right? And therefore one cannot simply say, I'm ignorant of the norms. Being a human being, you should know certain norms. Even in a court, you are not allowed to show your ignorance pertaining to the laws. At least you through your lawyer, you have to argue accept. You just cannot say, I don't know any law, therefore I committed this mistake. That would not be allowed. When you have a freedom, definitely you have to know it. So in life, you cannot be, ignorant. You cannot afford to be ignorant with pertaining to our living, because we are choosing in every moment. So anyway, now the pertinent question is, what is the goal of life? This what we are going to talk has a connection there. What is the goal of life? Well, goal of life cannot be a heaven, right? If there is heaven is a goal, why should I come here? Is it a detour? It's not a detour, right? So definitely. So if freedom, heaven is a goal, I should not come here. Then somebody said, well, Swamiji, the goal of life is death. Because ultimately one meets death. If goal of life is a death, and what is death? Death means you become non-existent. Then if goal of life is to become non-existent, why should I take a birth? Because before birth I was non-existent. Then I did not take a birth, because that's already achieved. Non-existence is already achieved. The goal of life is to live. To live. And to live means what? Well, to live means to relate to the world. The human being can be alive and human being is living. Big difference. Yeah. When a person is in a deep sleep or when a person is in coma, let us say, nowadays you can survive the person with all the support system. Person can survive. You won't say he's living a life. You will say he's alive. In a deep sleep state, you are alive. You are not living a life. Means the goal of life is live. To live, living means to relate. The goal of life is to relate. Right? To respond. Then he says he is living a life. So this goal of life is to basically to relate ultimately. And to accomplish different things, we must relate to the world intelligently, exercising our freedom of choice. And often we are more mechanical than free. Like that motor. Motor moves, if it is connected to the electricity, it moves in a certain RPM, rotations per minute, etc. So the motor does not have any freedom of choice to revolve in any other manner. So it will perform as if it is programmed. This is mechanical. Even a certain conducive situation is there, and if clouds come, rain happens. Right? So this is called, it's all mechanical. So there is no choice on the part of the clouds. Well, this too is also mechanical. So under certain conditions, certain things happen. Well, for our purpose of understanding, we shall call these choiceless happenings as reactions. What is choiceful response is called action. What is choiceless happening to the human being is called reaction. And so, what are reactions in life, Swamiji? You have introduced two words, action and reaction. Well, there are certain reactions happen to the human being in a response, in a relating. So what are reactions? What is that mechanicalness, etc. on the part of a human being? Well, suppose if I ask you to be angry for 2 minutes, kindly, just be angry for 2 minutes. Swamiji, we are not angry. So we feel that we are all angels, right? Because we don't get angry. Therefore, there is no point to complain to a Swami that I don't get angry. Because I'm telling you to get angry right now, you are not able to get angry, means there is no anger in you. No, Swami, I definitely get angry. But when anger comes, I do not. No, anger happens. That is how it's a choiceless thing. It's a choiceless thing. That's called reaction. Sadness happens. If I tell you to be jealous for 2 minutes, you cannot. Be jealous for 2 minutes. You will not. Yeah. It doesn't mean that we don't become jealous. We do become jealous. But as our free will is totally overpowered, reactions. That is mechanicalness. So in our responses, sometimes we are not relating to the world in an intelligent manner, which with our freedom of choice, we are not relating. We basically respond in a mechanical way. So freedom in action means, one is free from this kind of mechanicalness. One is free from the basically reactions. So a reaction is something that happens without your being conscious. So you are what your psychology is, and that is why even basically you are what your emotion is. That's for sure. So whatever your intellect has a wisdom, and you may have so many skills, and you may have done PhDs and double PhDs and whatnot. It's all there in intellect. One who responds in a situation is not intellect. One who responds is this emotional being. And that is where all this comes from. And that is why we find that the person on one side, very learned person, but he doesn't know how to relate to the world. We say also, gets angry, becomes sad, and all reactions all the time overpower. On the other side, maybe a villager who may not have a proper even education, but he knows how to relate to the world, how to relate to the world in a conscious manner, being free from mechanicals, being free from reactions. Bhagavan teaches this. How you respond to live is the goal of life. To live is to relate to the world. In relating, while you relate in such a manner, in an intelligent manner, with your freedom of choice, wherein your mind is free from reactions. And everyone wants this freedom. Everyone wants. Either a person in the United States, or a person in Japan, or maybe a person in Alaska. Everyone wants one's mind, by responding to the world, living a life, everyone wants one's mind to be free from reactions. That is what has been taught by Bhagavan in second chapter, which we know. I have not used the word, but you know, as it is called Karma Yoga actually. Karma means action. Karma Yoga means a technique to be free from mechanicalness or reactions while doing actions. It's called Karma Yoga. So anyway, we have to cut down our mechanicalness, for which we have to understand how to relate to the world intelligently. And unless we are conscious of what we are doing, our mind cannot serve us, our memory also cannot guide us properly. Anyway, and especially in relating to the world, when I say, we have to be very cautious to relate to the human beings. Yeah. Because to whom you are going to relate, he also has that same privilege called freedom of choice. Yeah. So you also have a freedom of choice, and so you have to relate intelligently, and he also has to relate to you intelligently. So it's easy to relate to a dog, to my pet, because you know how he's she laughs. Yeah, like you reach home after 2 hours, you know how it's going to respond. If it doesn't respond in a certain way, that also maybe sick, something. So other than a human being, you know how to relate, because it's all programmed. You can understand that, you can predict their behavior. And if you are not able to predict, maybe you are not aware of, or maybe scientists have not yet discovered, but still it is predictable, because there is no freedom of choice. Where there is a freedom of choice, how the person will respond in a world is not certain. So we have to be extra cautious. What is that caution, etc.? If time permits, I will definitely tell you how to relate to the human being, so that at least you also fulfill your goal of living. At the same time, you don't hurt others' sentiment. Anyway, so other living beings are basically programmed, but this human being is unpredictable. Animals have reactions because there is no freedom of choice. So just responses they give that are naturally programmed, and more often they are predictable. So there is freedom in action basically only when you choose to act, and you have no freedom in action when you allow things happen to you. That's it. Now, Swami, that's enough. Tell us now how to relate to the world. Living is a goal. Ultimately, one has to relate. We have to respond intelligently, exercising our free will, everything, yet remain free from mechanicalness, reactions, etc. Yeah. There are 2 parts in this. When I say action, one is an action which you do with your free will, what you respond with your free will. That's called action. And the second thing is your response to the result of an action. That's also part. So both the places, you are responding to the world with your free will, relating intelligently, doing action. There also you want a freedom. freedom from reactions. At the same time, you want a freedom in giving response to the varieties of the situations which come in your life on a daily basis as a result of an action. At both the places, Bhagavan talks about the freedom in action with respect to both. Amazing and simple. First, I will just tell you what are the part of the verses which are very important. First is a samatvam yogaha uchyate. That is one thing. And the second is yogaha karmasu kaushala. Both are definitions of karma yoga. Both are basically the means to make oneself free while responding to the situation. Free from reactions. Both. First is samatvam yogaha uchyate, is safe. Yoga, karma yoga. Samatvam, the sameness, etc. But Swamiji, why do we want such freedom? Human life ultimately is meant for freedom. One loves freedom. Yeah. Freedom is in fact the goal of life. Freedom is the goal of life. Freedom from being small is a goal of life. One definitely strives hard in order to get rid of this smallness. All the time I struggle to prove myself to be someone desirable, important, credible in your eyes. I want to see that in your eyes, well, that I am somebody. Why? Because when I can't prove that I am somebody, I definitely will have a idea in my mind that I am very small. When I prove myself to be somebody to you, you will say, Swami, you are great. And then you drop your smallness for a time being. So you want the freedom from being small, freedom from being limited, freedom from being dependent. This is the innate love for freedom is innate love for the freedom one is born with. It is not taught by anybody. No Harvard University teaches, oh, human being, you should love freedom. You are born with this. Even a child also, when it starts crawling and then starts walking, and the child takes the support of a mother's hand or sari, but it all the time wishes that it wants to walk independently. Yet it takes the support of a wall, still it wants to leave that support and wants to walk. That's how everyone starts. So you can see even in a child also there is a love for freedom. Or even a old person who has some leg fracture and using a support of all our crutches. Every day he asks to the doctor, when will I leave this crutches? You have to take a support, but you are not happy with that. You want to live it. Right? People don't take, in old age also I have seen, people generally would not like to take the sticks unless and until it is very much essential. If I walk with a stick and if you ask me, wow, now do you have to use a stick? I don't like it. Not that I really welcome it. So in a human life, all the time, in every situation, it reveals you love freedom. Freedom from being small, freedom from being limited, freedom from being dependent, etc. So anyway, freedom is a goal of life. And one can achieve this goal provided one gains freedom in action first. Because the freedom is to be discovered. I'm not going into that, Vedanta, etc. But I'm just narrating you. So freedom in action is half the goal achieved. Because you are all the time responding and you want to remain free. Anyway, and that knowledge, when you discover that you are basically free, etc., it requires a certain preparedness, and that is one has to see oneself relatively free in action. Anyway, now the first part I am taking, and that is samatvam yoga uchyate. The sameness towards the result of an action gives you freedom from reactions. Now you understand reactions are anger, sadness, dejection, sense of failure, all are reactions. No one invites a sense of failure. No one invites sadness. You cannot become sad with your deliberately trying. You cannot. They just happen, the actions. All this you want to remain free. While responding to the various results of an action, you want a sameness. What is this sameness? We will be discussing that, which helps. See, so everyone is basically a bundle of likes and dislikes, and we love to fulfill. Basically, there is likes and dislikes, which is very natural, and you understand an action well, basically to fulfill either a like or dislike, and any one of the following can be the result of an action. Anyone. First, so the result of an action could be more than you expected. The result of an action could be as you expected. The result of an action could be less than you expected. The result of an action could be contrary to your expectation. All four possibilities open. Once you do an action, the result will be either of this. Either of this. Like I take a pill. I had some stomach pain. I don't have. I'm just giving an example. A stomach pain. And I took some tablet, painkiller. Well, now the result should be pain should go. But here also four possibilities. I'm telling you, just taking one action of taking pill. First thing is, well, this painkiller, this drug, the tablet, has not only removed the pain of the stomach, has also helped me to remove the pain of knees. With a painkiller, it has even helped there also, more than expected. The second is as expected. Well, the painkiller has helped me to remove the stomach pain. Fine, as expected. The painkiller has removed the pain of the stomach, but not completely, less than expected. The painkiller has not removed the pain. In fact, my whole stomach got ulcerated. It happens with many painkillers, just contrary to what your expectation. All four possibilities are there. You cannot avoid it. You cannot avoid it. So, for any undertaking, these four kinds of results are possible. And so now, when you undertake something, should you not be prepared for any of these four results or not? You should be prepared. You should be prepared. So we are neither omniscient nor omnipotent, and because our knowledge is limited, our power also is limited, we can't accomplish everything as expected, as per expectation. So we can't accomplish everything what we want for want of knowledge. Not complete knowledge. And even if you have a knowledge of accomplishing a given thing, you don't have even sometimes power to complete. Like, suppose a person falls from the first floor, right? He has a knowledge that there is that if he jumps, is going to fall, and falling will definitely, I will be injured. He has this knowledge, and perhaps maybe knowing physics, and maybe knowing that there is a law of gravitation also. Everything. You have a knowledge, but you don't have power, well, to not to get hurt. So you have a very limited knowledge and limited power, and therefore, well, so all the time you will not be able to accomplish as per your expectation or more than expectation. You have to be ready for other two also. So still we undertake various actions because we have our likes and dislikes to fulfill, which and this undertaking will produce any of these four kinds of results. And Bhagavan says, towards this result of an action, which is nothing but a various situations in your life, well, towards that you should have a sameness. What is this sameness? What is this sameness? Well, sameness cannot be in action, because every action is different from another action. Actions are different. Right now I am speaking, you are listening. Maybe the class is over, you will be speaking to me, I will be listening. So definitely action cannot be the same. Sameness of action is not possible. Sameness of desire also is, even Bhagavan doesn't have the same action. Bhagavan is a creator. Bhagavan is a sustainer. Another action. Bhagavan is a resolver. Third action. So he himself has no action which is same all the time. Anyway, so sameness of desire also is not possible. Naturally, we have varieties of the desires. Sameness of result also is not possible. In fact, I'm telling you, even if you do the same action every day, result would be different. You know, our women, they cook food. Even they prepare dal every day, right? Even with the same masalas and everything. Still, the taste would be different. So same action, even if you do, you don't get the same result. Sameness of action is not possible. Sameness of desire is not possible. We are discussing what is this sameness towards the result of an action. Result also cannot be the same. Well, action also is not same. Then what? What do you think? Give your input. I expect little answer from you.
Is become or equanimity.
Attitude. That means it.
Don't expect anything.
No, that's not possible. That's impractical. Sameness of attitude towards results. How many types of results are possible? All four. Sameness of an attitude towards any of the type of results. Anyway, so the result is either desirable, well, basically, when it is in keeping with my expectation, or better than what I expected, and the result is undesirable, well, when it is less than what I expected, then what I expected, it is less than that, or even contrary to that. So, sameness towards the desirable and undesirable results is called yoga. That is the thing. But why? Why should I? That's your question, I know. This is, suppose I say, well, Swami, that's not, it doesn't, there is something which you miss while responding to the situation. You miss something which you should not miss. That invites all the issues. That invites all the issues. A very big factor you are missing, which does not allow to respond to different situations in life with equality. It's a very big factor, and it's a very big buffer. Very big buffer. Anyway, and this response, with the sameness, is in fact called adulthood. This is adulthood. A child responds to situation, you must have seen. Child responds in such a way, he is not ready to accept facts. A balloon gets burst. Father says, I will give you another one, don't worry. But it wants the same balloon. And father says, beta, this balloon is meant to burst. Inflated balloon is meant to burst. You cannot expect, but child is not ready. The same person has got an adult body now. He is 30-year-old and he is working in some organization and he is working hard. And there is another fellow also is working hard. And then the time has come of an increment and promotion. And this person was given an increment, 10%. Other person was given an increment of 20%. And also a promotion. And this person came to me. And he went to the boss. And he said, why? I have also worked very well. And the boss told very politely, yes, you worked. I know, you are very honest, you worked hard. But that person has worked also hard, and with his work, the organization has got much more benefit. So, well, I'm obliged to give this. And you, at the behavior of the child appears again. He's 30-year-old. What he behaved as a 3-year-old appeared again. He threw the letter on the head of boss. take your job, put himself into problems. Yeah. So same attitude, the attitude of the child continued. He has grown physically, not emotionally. That's the issue. Not accepting the facts. Four results, four types possible. Any of this, expected, more than expected, everything is possible. It's a fact. Fact of the life. No. Child. Physically adult, emotionally child. Resisting the situations because of missing one factor. That buffering factor is Ishvara. Very much. You should know how Ishvara plays here. Anyway, so there is actually nothing being special to be a karmayogi. Frankly speaking, it is expected out of everyone that one has to take with sameness because it's a fact. Anyway, so Bhagavan talks about this attitude that you have a choice with respect to, of course, performing an action. You have definitely a choice, but definitely not in determining the result of an action. And we have to understand this very well because it concerns our day-to-day life. And one cannot interpret a Shastra, well, like Bhagavad Gita, etc., which is a scripture of a living religious culture, without looking into the attitudes of our culture, without looking into rituals, art, etc. So there are many things in our religious culture which have roots in our scriptures. Anyway, so we can perform an action which we feel proper, but having performed an action, definitely you have no choice with respect to it. Like, I don't have a flower, but I take this. Now see how the Ishvara is there already, but you don't miss it. Like I take in my hand, right? And I release it. It's in my hand or not? Definitely it's in my hand. I may suspend this action, or I may do it. It's in my hand. But once I release, after release, it gets dropped, is not in my hand. It gets dropped, is not in my hand. I am not cause for the dropping of a glass. I am definitely a cause for releasing. I am not the cause for getting it dropped. Getting it dropped is by some other condition, by some other law, which is not in my hand. So basically, it's law of gravitation, very well, which is, well, so even in a spaceship, you must be knowing, in a spaceship also, they, sometimes they tip the object like this. Or they have created some place where there is a zero gravity, where they give a training to the space people. So there, basically, well, definitely, if you release, it may go sideways, etc. But it may not drop. But generally, well, when this is in your hand, to release it's in your hand. You are cause for the action to release. You are not the cause for the result of an action of getting it dropped. Even in fact, to release also, there is a certain law. If I lift this, is also due to law. So then there also it is by law only. You should not say you are a cause or author of the action of releasing, because that is also by law. You are able to lift. It's not in your hands only. It's definitely in the hand of Ishvara ultimately. You should not say. Correct. That's true. But at least, why I call myself as a performer of that action? Because I can suspend it. I need not release. Therefore, definitely I am a cause for, it depends on my free will to do an action. But the result of an action is within the laws of the world. Laws of the world. I'm talking about the laws which are not taxation laws, which are not traffic laws, they are man-made laws. I'm talking about the laws which is naturally there, which is there as a part of the creation. And our understanding of Ishvara is not just the maker of this creation. Our understanding of Ishvara is the maker and material is one. He is the maker, he is the material. Because logically also it is not possible to think any other way. Yeah. If maker and material are different, like a pot maker and a clay material, you want to make a pot. If a pot maker and clay are different, well, pot maker is dependent upon clay. Yeah. If clay is not there, he will sit down with his hookah. He will sit down. He cannot do. Do you think Ishvara is like that? If he doesn't get material, he cannot create this pot? World? No. Definition of Ishvara should be means he is independent all the way. If he is independent, material cannot be separated from him. But Swamiji, this looks very absurd. Material maker cannot be one. There are examples. You are the example. But who asks is an example. How do you create a dream world? What material do you import to create a dream world? Nothing. You are the maker, you are the material. You are the maker, you are the creator, you are sustainer, unto which everything dissolves. Whole dream world dissolves into you. It doesn't fly away anywhere else. And there are Shastra, Upanishads give several examples where the maker and material are one alone. And one example is a spider. There are many examples are there. Therefore, there is a possibility that in case of this creation, he is the maker, he is the material. Therefore, all the laws which are there in this world are the manifestation of Ishvara. And therefore, a law of gravitation, it's a physical manifestation. And therefore, basically, if something gets dropped by the law, which is a part of the world, Ishvara has dropped, I can say. You say law of gravitation has dropped it. Due to that it has dropped. I say Ishvara has dropped. You say. That is what Bhagavan said. Karmaneva tavadhikaraha ma phaleshu. With respect to an action, definitely you have a freedom. You have freedom. Privilege, yes. But so far as the result of an action is concerned, it's all shaped. You have done some action, it has come to me. I shaped it in form of various situations in your life. Definitely. In terms of karma phala. And what comes from Ishvara, we know for sure. I'm going to get it also. It's called prasada. Yeah, that's called prasada. And you, for prasada, at least we have the attitude of sameness. Definitely. Whatever the prasada he gives. You know, we go to Tirupati, you get a chakkar pongal, they call. You may get a lemon rice, you may get a tamarind rice, you may get a coconut rice, anything. Whatever comes. Or even if you go to Badrinath, well, you get the chana dal degi or the mumra, puff rice. You go to Badrinath and you feel you will have a prasadam, which is like a big laddu. No. Just puff rice, few puff rice degi. Whatever comes, you do like this. Right? What is the attitude there? Sameness. It's an attitude of sameness. What comes from Ishvara is accepted as that. Anyway, Swamiji, I don't like your this. You and your Sri Krishna and all your Bhagavad Gita, all this is useless. Somebody asked me this question. This is the attitude, I feel it's the attitude of a submissiveness. Prasada, so there is a submissiveness. So we don't like this attitude. Submissiveness it is. Okay, if you don't accept the result as a prasada, how will you accept it? Please tell us. Means you are rejecting, right? You are rejecting. So, well, definitely, if the result is not accepted cheerfully, it will be accepted with regret, disappointment, with dejection, despair. All this is reaction. Do you remember? All this is reaction. Sense of failure. My God, this is dangerous. Most dangerous is this. Any result comes, you basically assess yourself. Yeah. It is coming from the world, but you assess yourself. Any situation comes in your life, you have done something, and result comes, you think you are a success or you are failure. I'm going to talk about it, that there is nothing called failure. There is nothing called failure in this world. This only will save us from these reactions. That's the freedom in action we want. Anyway, so it's wrong to think that one becomes submissive by accepting the situation as a prasada. In fact, you will become more dynamic. Only if you accept the result as a prasada, accepting the result as a prasada means accepting the result as it is. You become objective. When you are objective, you are more dynamic compared to with the mind which is reacted already, disappointments, etc. You are not that dynamic. You are not that effective. Therefore, it's not submissiveness. So, and this attitude of sameness, well, you can take an example. Suppose in your circle, your friend is getting married, and you have been given a work task of receiving the people in reception at the door, and well, definitely, and people keep coming. Many of them you don't know naturally, because they are relatives of your friend. You may not be knowing all, but you basically receive all with a smile, and your friend naturally from the circle, they also come, and oh, you got this job, I'm envy of you, etc., and so you also receive them, and they want to talk to you. You say, no, I don't have a time, I have to receive. You go inside, and then one person comes who was a friend till last year. Last year some big fight occurred, and now you don't see you don't see each other eye to eye. That person comes. What will you do? What will you do? At least whatever is there in the heart, but outside, because you have been given a task, you keep your likes and dislikes away, momentary, and you will also receive the person with a smile. So either you receive a person, friend of you, with a smile, receive your enemy also with a smile, keeping aside likes and dislikes, basically. This is called sameness. Certain situations come in your life as a result of an action which are friendly, more than expected, less expected. Well, receive. And some situations come not conducive, less than expected, or contrary to expectation also comes. Still, welcome to all. It's coming from Isha. If you want to save yourself in a situation, responding to the world, relating to the world, if you want to save yourself from these reactions, disappointment, sense of failure, sadness, anger, all this, if you want to save yourself, the buffer is Isha. That is how even if a person works for an organization voluntarily, it's not called Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is one when you bring Ishvara into the situation. All human services are wonderful. If you bring this element of Ishvara, it really becomes Karma Yoga. When you grow also emotionally grow, making yourself free from mechanicalness, making yourself free from varieties of the reaction. And if you act, right, you intelligently act using your freedom of choice and live a day-to-day life, you have achieved the goal. You are basically destined to be an adult. Physically you become adult by just by you keep eating and jump around. One day you find you have mustache. You become adult. But emotionally adult, you have to initiate it. And if you initiate that, and you become emotionally adult also, along with the physical adulthood, you have achieved that. That's how we never complain that cow has gone. Somebody, this cow has died without fulfilling its goal. It was physically adult, but it was not emotionally adult. You won't say that. A cow is physically adult as well as emotionally adult, right? Because in them it was just programmed to be more emotionally adult. But a human being can be physically adult, but emotionally child. Emotional child. One has to be free from this. Freedom in action. One part is over. The second part is still left. We'll see. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate